What's going on, everybody? King of Dragons 5000 here, coming at you with another figure review. Today we'll be having a look at the Hasbro Power Rangers Lightning Collection Mighty Morphin Lord Zedd. Here we do have Lord Zedd in the packaging. What we're going to do now is take a little break, get him open up, and they'll have a better look at Lord Zedd. So stay tuned, everyone. And so here we have Lord Zedd posing out of the packaging. Before we have a look at the figure, let's actually take a look at what Lord Zedd comes with. He does come with a few accessories. For starters, he does come with two sets of hands. He comes with a pair of grasping hands. He comes with a grip hand for his right hand. And then he also does come with a fist for his left hand. Lord Zedd also does come with a grenade, which does fit in either of his grasping hands, which looks really good. He, of course, does come with his staff, which is really good. I am a little disappointed it's not the same silver as his paint, but it's still a really nice accessory. And then he finally does get an effect piece for his staff. It's a red lightning effect, which it does look good, and I am glad they did top it onto Zedd, giving him more than just his normal accessories. So with that out of the way, guys, let's actually move on to his details. And so here we have a closer look at Lord Zedd, and I have to say Hasbro did a really good job sculpting the head. Even though the paint job isn't 100% accurate, the visor should actually be a much darker red. I still think he's a really nice figure. Now, you can see on mine, unfortunately, there is a scratch in the plastic. And that's not a scratch on the paint job, that's actually a scratch on the plastic, which is a little bit unfortunate. It's not going to be that way on all Lord Zeds, it's just the one that I happen to have. But again, a lot of nice detailing going through his head right here. You can see his exposed brain, which looks really good. He does have his Z coming up that looks really good. The grill on his mouth is done exceptionally well. So overall, I really do like the paint job that they went with on Zedd. It looks really good. I know there's some people that would have preferred chrome, but I think chrome would have scratched too much and would have made this a much more delicate figure. The silver paint, in my opinion, works good for him. You will notice on mine, he does have somewhat of a floppy neck joint. It is a little bit unfortunate, but it's nothing I can't fix. But moving on to the rest of his detail, there's a lot of detail here on Lord Zedd. Even though the prototype showed a little more detail, it's still surprisingly a decent amount of detail throughout his torso. Anywhere where you see his exposed flesh, you can see hints of what appears to be muscle sculpture, which on the prototype figure it was a little more predominant, but here it is a little bit toned down. I'm guessing that just helped with cutting costs. But you can see right here on his shoulder how much detailing is just in that sculpt, and it looks really good. Even right here on the butterfly joint, you can see all that musculature right there. Going on to his arms, again we have a lot of musculatures on Lord Zedd, and then we have some shadows in there. So there's a darker wash that highlights all those little indents in his muscles, and then we also do get his little, I don't know, skeletal exosuit, whatever you want to call it, the silver parts. A little bit unfortunate they didn't color the peg here silver. Really do like the silver they went with. Now his hands are a little bit inaccurate. You can see that there's some flat parts on it. Those flat parts are supposed to be silver. Even on this side you can see those flat parts. He's supposed to have silver claws, and unfortunately Hasbro did not give him silver claws. It is a little bit unfortunate, but if you're patient enough and have a steady hand, you can fill that in yourself. You can see mine does have a little bit of a paint error right here on his right forearm. But other than that, the paint job is done surprisingly well. The blue tubes on him are actually surprisingly good. They don't hinder any of his articulation, although they will pull out if you try getting too crazy with it. You can see his spine is done really well. Let me just line it up right there. His codpiece is done surprisingly well. You can see more of those darkened highlights to just show off more of his musculature. I've said that word a lot, but it's true. He doesn't have as much wash on the back, which is a little bit unfortunate that they mainly focused on the front of the figure. I would like to see this care given throughout the entire figure, Because when you get to his side, you can see it's darker right here, and then it just turns into a single color. Having that darker wash would have given all this detail. It would have exposed the detail more, which that's what you want in a figure. But overall, I'm still happy with how these came out. You can see the tubes do go from his torso down to his knees, into his little plates right here. And you can actually see the separation of the tube part where it's sculpted onto the figure itself. We have more of his tubes running down to his ankles, which it's done really well. And then we do get to his feet, which you can see the silver paint is done really well. All the little Hasbro markings right there. So overall, I think Zedd here is a phenomenal looking figure. He does have some quality control issues, which we'll get into when we go on to his articulation. But overall, I'm still really overall excited to have him in my collection. So what we're going to do now is actually get him compared to a few other figures you may have in your collection. So here we have Zedd posed next to a Marvel Legends Cyclops and a DC Multiverse Superman. Here we have Lord Zedd posed next to a WWE Elite Scale figure and a Mezco 1/12 Collective Popeye the Sailor Man. And here we have Lord Zedd posed next to the Lightning Collection White Ranger. And finally, here we have Lord Zedd posed next to the Bandai Legacy Collection White Ranger. And with the comparisons out of the way, let's actually move on to Lord Zedd's articulation. Now, he does have quite a bit of articulation. He does have a ball joint in the head, which does let him look up about that much. He can look down about that much. He does have some slight head tilt, which is really good. He also does turn left and right. Now, he does have a hinge in the neck, which does look back about that far, comes forward about that far. Now, on mine, that hinge is a little bit loose, as you can see, but once you move it, it really doesn't matter. It's only at the very center that it's really loose. If I move it back slightly, it doesn't move. If I move it forward slightly, it doesn't move. So it might just be mine. It could be anybody's. It could be a universal issue. I don't know. Just let me know down in the comments. Does have swivel hinges in the arms, so his arm does go up about that far, and that's as far as you can go because it is pulling on this little tube. It goes back about that far because you are pulling on this tube, surprisingly. Not the center tube right here, but the back tube. He does have a bicep swivel, which works really well. Arm does go out to about that far, so it does go all the way out. Again, we do have a bicep swivel, double bend in the elbow, giving us about 90 degrees because he's a beefier figure. He does have a swivel and a hinge in both wrists, which works really well. He has a butterfly joint, which goes back about that far, comes forward about that far, so really good range on that butterfly joint. He does have a mid-torso joint, which goes back about that far, comes forward about that far. He does lean side to side, as well as rotation, and goes forward about that far. He also does have a reverse ab crunch, which doesn't go back all that much. I don't know if it's because it's pulling on stuff. Let's see. Nope, it just doesn't go back that far. But it does go forward a surprisingly good amount, so that's really good. We don't have any swivel right here because it is done at that mid-torso joint, but his legs do kick forward about that far. They go back, they go out, they do swivel at the thigh, and the way they engineered this is that this piece on his thigh is actually integrated into the swivel. You can see it moves with the thigh swivel, not with the hip, so really good engineering right there. Does have double bend in the knee. Let's see. Because he's a bigger figure, he doesn't go quite all the way up. That's about as much as you're going to get. No boot cut swivel, but he does have a hinge in the ankle. Now, I do advise you heat up his ankles before moving them. On mine, this ankle would not move. I had to heat this ankle up, and you can see it does move, not as clean as I wanted to. There's still a little bit resistance, but it does move forward and back. If you are having issues with it, do heat it up, because when I checked mine, there were already stress marks, and that means it's really close to breaking if you don't know what you're doing. Take care of it really well. And then we have forward-facing pin for rocker ankle. And then his left hip is really loose on mine. Right hip not as loose, although it's still loose, so we do have some floppiness, which I can fix. But other than that, he's still an exceptionally well done figure. So what we're going to do now is take a little break, get him posed for my final thoughts, and then we'll wrap up this review. And so here we have Lord Zedd posed for my final thoughts. Overall, I love the way this figure came out. Zedd was always one of my favorite villains in Power Rangers, and I really loved how dark he was in Season 2, to the point where they actually had to tone him down for Season 3. That's something I honestly didn't know about until recently, but kudos for Fox for making a really evil villain. Now, Zedd was never featured in Super Sentai, so Zedd is a Power Rangers only character, so if you are looking to fill out your Lightning collection, Lord Zedd here is the first bad guy we've gotten, and it's a really big deal, seeing as how Bandai never really did give us iconic villains. I know we did get the Psycho Rangers and then Lord Draken as an exclusive, but we never got Rita, Goldar, or even Zedd here, so I am glad that Hasbro did decide to tackle him in an early wave. Hasbro is doing really good things with the Power Rangers license, and I love the articulation on this figure. Now, unfortunately, Zedd is one per case. I have no idea why Hasbro decided to do this Mattel thing where they release 8 figures in a case, but only one Zedd. That really doesn't make sense to me, but I guess because he's a villain, they suppose people aren't going to want him. If you are looking for Lord Zedd, like I said, he is one per case, which doesn't make sense for me in a case of 8. But he's a really good figure, and you will want him in your collection. If you're a fan of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, you're going to need this guy to go up against your White Ranger. Now, if you are looking for Lord Zedd, he is going to run you about $19.99 with tax at most retails. So Walmart, Target, and I think Walgreens is going to carry these eventually, and it is going to run you about $22 after tax. I was lucky enough to pick up my Lord Zedd from my local comic book store, so a huge shout out to Black Sheep Comics for getting this out to me, so I could review it for you guys. If you're a fan of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, you definitely need Zedd in your collection. With that being said, guys, I'm King of Dragons 5000. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. Go check out all my other action figure reviews, as well as all my other Power Ranger videos. Hopefully you find them informative. As always, if there's a figure you would like to see me review, let me know down in the comments, and if it's in my collection, I'll definitely have a look at it. And while you're at it, check out my Instagram account for new and exciting action figure photos, and ring that bell to be notified every time I upload a video. Until next time, guys, I'll see you later. Take care, everyone.